Session 5, Setting Assessments, Criterion 4. This is a continuation of Topic 2.4 of Module 2. Remember that Module 2 is all about setting assessments. In Session 4, we discussed Criteria 1 to 3. In Session 5, we will continue and focus on Criterion 4, Cognitive Skills. Criterion 4 is the correct cognitive levels coverage. Watch this short video on Bloom's taxonomy.
Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a multi-tiered model to classify thinking according to 6 cognitive levels of complexity. Firstly, we have the basic level of difficulty, remember and understand. These 2 skills encourage the students to evaluate preparation and comprehension, diagnose strengths and weaknesses. Secondly, there is the middle level of difficulty, apply and analyze, which allows the students to review or summarize content, think deeply, and facilitate problem solving. And then, finally, the high level of difficulty, evaluate and create, which encourages discussions, stimulates students to seek information, and create new content. Educators encourage learners to climb to a higher level of thought. Bloom's original taxonomy is hierarchical. Each level is subsumed by the higher level. For example, students have to master knowledge and comprehension to function at application level. Therefore, educators need to structure learning experiences so that learners master each level before progressing to the next level. Bloom's taxonomy has been applied as a tool to plan exams to ensure it includes basic, middle, and high difficulty level tasks and questions.
When you look at the sub-criteria on the screen, you will realize that there is a strong correlation between mark allocation, the level of difficulty, and time allocation. You might recall that this also formed part of Criterion 1, the analysis grid. On the analysis grid, a distinction is made between short, medium, and extended responses. Furthermore, reference is made to knowledge, application, analysis, and problem solving. This table will help you to classify your type of question, correct cognitive level, and the mark as well as the time allocation, all the elements of the analysis grid. Make sure you take note of the following. Do not let name, list, and state questions count 2 marks each. Now let's have a look at an example of how the same section of work can be tested, but using different cognitive levels each time. The subject is entrepreneurship, and the same theory is covered for each question. You will notice that the first question uses a basic level of difficulty or conceptual knowledge, and asks the student to list 4 facts for 1 mark each. The next question is a middle level of difficulty question, and uses comprehension and application. The question asks the student to discuss 4 factors for 2 marks each. The last question is a high level of difficulty question in which the student must analyze and use problem-solving skills. The question is a case study in which the student analyzes and identifies 4 reasons for business failure and suggests 4 solutions. 3 marks are allocated for each problem and solution. It is clear that you can ask the same theory in 2 consecutive examinations, yet it can be 2 totally different type of questions. Now we can go back to the analysis grid of Criterion 1. You need to know how to do this, so watch the video carefully.
Explanation of analysis grid. Remember to do your analysis grid as you compile the paper. Do not do this afterwards. Let's take an NCV subject as an example. Each subject has an assessment guideline and a subject guideline. Modules are referred to as topics. Topics are subdivided into subject outcomes, and subject outcomes are divided into learning outcomes. An example from Business Practice, Level 4. Topic 1. Personal Effectiveness in a Business Environment. Subject Outcome, SO, 1.1. Plan and Organize Work. Learning Outcome, LO, 1.1.1. Understand and explain the business environment. 1.1.2. Describe planning aids and use it with regard to time management and work prioritization to plan and monitor work. Subject Outcome, SO, 1.2. Establish and maintain good working relationships. Learning Outcome, LOs, 1.2.1. Describe teamwork, relationship and conflict management as well as communication styles. 1.2.2. Provide information to internal and external customers with regard to routine requirements and on-off requests. 1.2.3. Use communication methods and styles appropriate to the individual situation. If you, for example, ask a question from Topic 1, Subject Outcome 1.2, and Learning Outcome 1.2.3, the grid will look as follows. Topic 1, Subject Outcome 1.2, Learning Outcome 1.2.3. Let's have a look at the next 4 columns. Short response, medium response, extended response, time. There is an explanation at the bottom of the analysis grid of what is meant by an SR, MR, and ER. Let's have a look at a few types of questions and analyze it accordingly. Typical short response questions include all multiple choice questions, true or false questions, fit column A to column B, write out acronyms, complete the statements by filling in missing words, briefly define, list or state or name type of questions. These types of questions are normally categorized as a basic level of difficulty with the focus on conceptual knowledge. What will be the time allocation for the above-mentioned type of questions? It might vary, but normally 1 minute per fact. Some questions might take a bit longer, whilst others might take less time. This brings us to medium response questions. Medium response questions refer to short explanations, short discussions, descriptions that may require a couple of sentences. Time allocation? These questions are normally categorized as a middle level of difficulty, with the focus on comprehension and application. Depending on the nature of the question, a norm that can be used might be 8 minutes for 10 marks. What is meant by extended questions? Typical examples of these type of questions include essay responses, long explanations, descriptions requiring several or more sentences. Time allocation? These type of questions are normally categorized as a high level of difficulty, with the focus on analysis and problem solving. It therefore needs a higher time allocation, for example, 10 marks for 10 minutes. This brings us to the last part of the grid, the cognitive levels. Mark allocation and cognitive level, knowledge, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, total marks. You already watched a video on Bloom's taxonomy and should be familiar with the different cognitive levels. By now, it should be clear that name, list, define, or state questions are all categorized as knowledge questions. Application type of questions normally comes in where knowledge is tested but applied to a practical scenario. We will have a look at an example now. Analysis and problem-solving type of questions are pitched on a high cognitive level and requires from a candidate to analyze a scenario or practical situation and to come up, for example, with suggestions. This is indeed a mouthful. Let's apply our knowledge. An example taken from your notes under Criterion 4, based on entrepreneurship. Let's have a look at the first scenario. 2.1. List any 4 factors that a service business needs to take into consideration on deciding where to establish a business. Look at the completed analysis grid. Topic 1, Subject Outcome 1.2, Learning Outcome 1.2.3, Question number 2.1 is a short response question. The time allocated is 3 minutes. The cognitive level is knowledge, and the total mark is 3. Now let us have a look at the second scenario. 2.1. Discuss any 4 factors that the owner of a creche has to take into consideration on deciding where to establish the business. 4 times 2, which is 8. Look at the completed analysis grid. Topic 1, Subject Outcome 1.2, Learning Outcome 1.2.3, Question number 2.1 is a medium response question. The time allocated is 6 minutes. The cognitive level is application, and the total mark is 6. Lastly, the third scenario. 2. Read the following case study. A case study on a creche is given. The business is not successful. Various problems are stated, including the wrong choice as to where the business should have been established, as well as other problems. 2.1. Identify the reasons for failure of this business and suggest possible solutions on how these problems can be addressed. 4 times 3, 12. Look at the completed analysis grid. Topic 1, Subject Outcome 1.2, Learning Outcome 1.2.3, Question number 2.1 is an extended response question. The time allocated is 12 minutes. The cognitive level is analysis, and the total mark is 12. You will complete the whole analysis grid, which then must be totaled right at the bottom. Take note that it is also important to complete the adherence to weighted values of syllabus. Look at the example below. Topic 1 has a prescribed weighted value of 15%, a mark allocation of 28 out of 200, and lastly, a weighted percentage of 14. Topic 2 has a prescribed weighted value of 20%, a mark allocation of 42 out of 200, and lastly, a weighted percentage of 21, and so forth. In the end, the mark allocation column should add up to 200, which is the grand total of the exam paper, and the weighted percentage should add up to 100.
Now there's a little bit of homework to be done. Go to your workbook and try Activity 9. Please pause the video now. This is the end of Session 5 of Module 2. We looked at Criterion 4, Cognitive Skills.